Hello. Today we're on to chapter 2 of The Lost Puppy by Holly Webb. And here is our lost puppy. Are you ready? Lucky traveled a 20-minute journey to Christie's house in a special cardboard box with flaps and a handle on top, which Aunt Nell had given them. But Mom had said that Christy could get him out as soon as the car pulled up to the house. When Christy opened the flaps, Lucky was squashed into the corner of the box with his special blanket in his teeth, looking very worried. He really didn't understand what was happening, and he didn't like being jostled around. The box smelled strange, too. He was glad he had the blanket which smelled of home and the other puppies and his mom. But he dropped it when he saw Christy and wagged his tail just a little. He didn't move out of his corner, though. "Hey, Lucky," Christy whispered. "Are you okay? Was it scary being in the car?" Lucky edged closer to her and stood with his front paws on the side of the box, looking up at her hopefully. He didn't like it in there. He wanted to be petted and held and fed. He was starving. Christy laughed as she picked him up and he nibbled at her jacket. "Are you hungry? Aunt Nell didn't want to feed you before we drove home. She said you might get sick." Do you ever have that happen to you? When you're in the car and you're driving a long way and sometimes your tummy gets upset? And you can get a little nauseous, right? You get used to it after a while. But imagine a little puppy who's never been in a car before. They might get really dizzy, right? And if you just ate a meal before you got dizzy, uh-oh, that might have been a problem. So I think Aunt Nell had a pretty good idea there. All right, let's get back to our story. Are you hungry? Aunt Nell didn't want to feed you before we drove home. She said you might get sick. And she thought it would be good to feed you here. Then you'll have good first memories of being with us in your new home. Lucky barked, a sharp, demanding, "feed me" bark. He was sure he knew what Christy was talking about. Aunt Nell talked to the puppies. "Should we feed you now, That was what she said when she was getting the yummy biscuits out. "Come on then." Christy followed Mom inside and Dad staggered after them with a huge box while Anna danced around them singing a little dog song she'd made up. "We need to unpack and then you'll get your dinner," Christy explained to Lucky as she put him down gently on the kitchen floor. "Your bowls are in here and a big bag of the food you like." But Lucky was distracted from food for a moment as he looked around the kitchen. Dad quickly closed the door. "We've got to remember to keep him in here for a few days," he told Christy. "Aunt Nell said he has to get used to this room first, one room at a time. And there are tiles in here," Mom added, "so cleaning up will be easy if he makes any puddles. I know Aunt Nell started house training him, but he's still sure to be a little confused and he might forget what he needs to do. We'd better put some newspaper down too, just in case." Christy carefully unpacked the box, admiring the cute bowls Aunt Nell had bought, with little bones painted on them and the soft red padded basket. "Look, there's a collar and leash," Christy exclaimed. "Oh yes," Dad nodded. "We'll have to get a tag with our phone number on it to put on the collar, just in case Lucky ever gets lost." Dad held out a big bag. "Here's the food. Should I open it, Christy? Then you can give him some." Christy carefully used the measuring cup to fill the bowl with food. Aunt Nell had explained about measuring out the right amount of puppy chow for Lucky's size. Because you know what happens? If you give a little dog too much food, they can get sick, just like people. You have to eat enough, but not too much. As she put the bowl down, Lucky immediately stopped sniffing his way along the kitchen cabinets and raced for the food bowl like some sort of trained sniffer dog. He gulped down the morsels in huge mouthfuls, licking all the way around the bowl, just in case he'd miss some. Then he took a long drink of water. "His tummy is almost touching the ground," Christy pointed out. It was true. Lucky's little dachshund legs meant he wasn't that high off the ground anyway, and now his stomach looked like a small balloon underneath him. He gave a huge yawn, licked around his mouth again, and then looked for somewhere to collapse and sleep off his enormous snack. He stomped over to his basket where Christy had put the special blanket that Aunt Nell had given them. She'd explained that it had been in the pen with Maisie and the puppies for the last few days so that Lucky would have something to smell that was familiar. "Oh, Anna," Mom sighed. Lucky's new bed was already occupied. Anna was curled up in the soft basket, fast asleep. Lucky looked at her doubtfully, then looked up at Christy with his ears perked up, just a little in a, "Well, what am I supposed to do about this" sort of way. Mom gently lifted Anna out of the basket, but Lucky clearly wasn't sure about it now. He stood at Christy's feet, staring up at her pleadingly, and she knelt down next to him. Lucky gave a little sigh of relief and heaved himself onto her lap, circling around her knees a couple of times and then slumping down in a heap, fast asleep. Right on her lap, too. Look. Can you see? It's a cute little dog. I need a little tea. Do you like to drink something when you're reading a story or hearing a story? I love a nice cup of hot tea. Makes it easier to read, too. Lucky settled into his new home very quickly. And he was growing up, too. He was still small. He was never going to be a big dog. But during the next couple of weeks, he stopped sleeping so much and became more and more adventurous and a bit naughty. He loved playing in the yard with Christy and Anna, especially digging in the flower beds. Then he would trot happily back to the girls covered in leaves and twigs and shake himself all over them. He was also terribly nosy. As soon as he was allowed out of the kitchen, after the first couple of days, he investigated the entire house. Every time Christy wasn't watching, he would manage to find himself another secret hiding place which he would get stuck in. Then he'd howl so she had to come and rescue him. Christy didn't understand how he actually managed to find half the spots, let alone climb into them. When he got trapped behind the washing machine, Dad had to pull it out from the wall for Lucky to escape. For a dog with such short legs, he was a very good climber, although he was much better at climbing up than down. That never stopped him, though. About a week after they'd gotten Lucky, Christy let him out into the yard on his own for the first time. Up until now, she'd always gone with him, but he needed to go outside to do his business, and she was helping Mom cook. Christy had just set the oven timer for the chocolate chip cookies they were baking when she realized that Lucky was still outside. She looked out the window, but she couldn't see him. "Maybe he's sitting by the door waiting to come in," Mom suggested. But he wasn't. Worried, Christy ran outside, hoping that Lucky hadn't found a gap under the fence. She and Dad had gone all the way around the yard, checking it for holes when they'd first brought him home. But what if they'd missed one? She raced around the yard, calling anxiously, "Lucky! Lucky!" Mom stood on the patio carrying Anna and peered into the flower beds. Suddenly, Anna laughed and pointed, and Christy heard a worried little whine somewhere up above her. "Lucky, how did you get up there?" He was standing in the doorway of Christy's treehouse, staring down uncertainly. The treehouse had been Christy's birthday present the year before, and it had steps built all the way around the tree trunk. Obviously, Lucky had managed to scramble up, but he wasn't so sure about getting down again. "Oh, Lucky, you weren't supposed to go climbing?" Dachshunds' long backs meant stairs weren't good for them. Christy was amazed that he even managed to get up the steps. She reached for Lucky and he wriggled into her arms gratefully so she could carry him down. Then he ran all around the yard twice, as though he liked the feel of solid ground under his paws. Getting stuck in the treehouse didn't teach Lucky to be any more cautious, as Christy hoped it might. He was still only a very little dog, but he seemed to think he was enormous, and he had no fear at all. A few weeks after they had brought him home, once he had all his vaccinations and was microchipped, Lucky was ready to go out for his first walk. Christy got out his beautiful blue leash. They were taking Lucky to the park, and she just knew he would love it. Lucky, keep still. She was trying to clip the leash on his collar, but Lucky kept wriggling. He'd never worn the leash before, but somehow he knew it meant something exciting. "Let me check your collar, too," Christy whispered. Aunt Nell had told her that it was important to fit his collar correctly, not too so loose that it would slip off, but not so tight that it would rub. She was supposed to be able to put her finger between Lucky's neck and the collar. "I'll open it up one more hole because it's just a little tight on you." "Lucky, stop jumping," she giggled as he wriggled and licked her nose. Christy was a little worried that Lucky would be nervous as they walked to the park, especially with the noisy cars speeding past. But he bounced along happily, sniffing everything they passed. His claws clicked busily on the sidewalk, scurrying from side to side, occasionally darting behind Christy as he caught another interesting smell. Christy kept having to stop and unwind the leash from around her ankles. "Are you all right, Christy? Do you want me to take him?" Dad asked. Mom was walking with Anna, who was just as much trouble as Lucky and didn't have a leash, unfortunately. "No, thank you," Christy shook her head firmly. Lucky was her special responsibility, and she had to be able to take care of him. Surely it couldn't be that difficult to go for a walk. At last they reached the park. It wasn't very far away, but Lucky had probably covered 3 times the distance by going forward and backward and sideways, and he was beginning to look a little tired. But as soon as he saw the huge expanse of green grass and the other dogs racing around, he brightened up immediately, his tail starting to whip from side to side. He sniffed busily at several clumps of grass and then followed Christy along one of the paths. "Should we see what he thinks of the ducks?" Dad suggested. Knowing Lucky, he'll think they were there for him to play with, Mom sighed. But they headed through the park towards the ducks, with Anna running ahead. The ducks were her favorite. "Oh, watch out, Anna," Mom called, seeing a man come down the path with a big German shepherd. Anna loved dogs, and she wanted to pet all of them, even if they looked big and scary like this one. Lucky spotted the German shepherd at the same moment as Anna did, and he darted forward, dragging his leash out of Christy's hand. "Lucky!" Christy squeaked in horror, watching him gallop away. She looked down at her hand as though she was still expecting the leash to be in it, and then she raced after him. Lucky ran up to the huge German shepherd and barked loud, shrill barks at it. He could see Anna next to the bigger dog. She was his, even if she did keep sleeping in his basket. He wasn't going to let some big, strange dog scare her. He danced around the huge dog, barking and yapping until he ran out of breath and had to sit down, panting. The poor German shepherd hadn't even thought of hurting Anna and was too well trained to do anything with Lucky either. She took a confused step backward towards her owner. She was worried that she might be in trouble, and it was all very unfair. But her owner patted her. "Good girl, Taffy. Sit. That's a good girl." The man then reached down and picked up Lucky in one hand, while Lucky wriggled and yapped and fought. Christy came running up. Mom and Dad were chasing after them too. Here you go, the man handed the wriggly puppy to Christy. I'm really sorry. It's his first walk. He doesn't really understand other dogs yet, Christy stammered, hoping the German Shepherd's owner wasn't going to shout at her. Sorry, Dad gasped as he picked up Anna. I hope she didn't upset your dog. Lucky was still yapping at the German Shepherd, who was now sitting quietly and looking rather smug, as though she knew she was well behaved and the little yappy dog wasn't. It's okay. Just be careful. Not all dogs are as calm as Taffy, her owner told Christy kindly, and he nodded at Dad. I won't let him run off again, Christy promised. I'm so sorry about that, Dad said, holding Anna tightly, who was reaching to try and pet the German Shepherd again as he paced past. No, Anna, you can't pet her. We shouldn't have let you get so close. Let's go home before we get into any more trouble, Mom said, looking around anxiously at all the other dogs in the park. As the German Shepherd and her owner headed off down the path, Christy hugged Lucky tight. He was still staring suspiciously after the bigger dog, his little body tense with anxiety as he twisted in her arms. Oh, Lucky, she whispered. That dog could have eaten a puppy like you for breakfast. And had room for a couple more, Dad added grimly. And that is the end of Chapter 2. Next, tomorrow, we'll read Chapter 3. And so if you want to make sure you don't miss it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can get the next chapter of The Lost Puppy. See you then.